Hello,
Hello,
Vernon.
Linda. How are you, Sugar? You doing all right? Long
I am
time no
doing
see.
just fine. How about you? I know. I know. Always good to
Yeah, I
see
know.
you.
Yeah.
And happy
Good.
anniversary
We
to
got to.
you.
Well, thank you, Sugar. I appreciate that. I 46 this time. Can you believe that?
46 years.
40.
Yes, I can. I can believe you made it to 46
Yeah.
years. I just can't believe that your beautiful wife put up with you for 46 years.
Well, what can I say? Hey, she's just a good woman and got a good man. That's all that's about.
She is a
Let me
good
bring my camera
woman
down a
with
little
a
bit.
good man, and we'll have to thank her if I'm sure she's watching. Thank you for sharing your husband with us tonight um, on your anniversary. I'm sure you treated her like a queen all day.
You know what? You know me. You know me.
Okay. Yes, I do know you. That's the scary part. So, welcoming our viewers tonight to Real Talk Relationships. My name is Lavender Shedrick Williams with Candy Publishing and the Other Woman magazine. And my co host is Vernon. You want to introduce
Me?
yourself?
Oh, you want me to introduce me? Oh, everybody know I'm Vernon. I'm Vernon Watson. Uh, it's been so long since we did this show. I got a little rusty, Lavender. You gotta help me. You got to help me out here. Okay?
I
You
know.
got to help
Vernon
me out.
Watson, owner of WBQP TV and also known as the Blues Hounds, WRNE Radio, AM and FM, and so many other things. So, Real Talk Relationships is something that we came up with, actually came from Wind Down Wednesdays that we had that we'll probably go back to. It's a little bit more popular. People are asking Wind Down Wednesday to come back. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And in fact, Lavender, I was at the flea market, Sarah, and I was hauled down. When is Wind Down Wednesday coming back? I saw y'all got to do another show on Monday, but I want to know when is Wind Down Wednesday coming back.
I want to get
It's coming.
paid
Hold
then.
on.
I want to get
Just like
paid.
Sam and Dave. Hold on, we coming. So you want to get paid?
Okay. So tonight, Real Talk Relationships, marriage and mental illness. This is a topic near and dear to many people. For whatever reason, it is not talked about enough, but we talk about things that other people don't talk about. And depression specifically is something that needs to be shared more often than it is. And thanking our lovely guests, Mark and Wendy Shipman. Isn't that a beautiful picture of them? To open up their
Yeah.
lives and their marriage to our viewers, and they will be available to answer any questions you all may have. And Wendy has been on the Other Woman magazine show before. She actually wrote an article for the Other Woman magazine previous for a previous issue. It was called Depression Survivor. And she is back with her support, her husband, Mark. And I just want him to share his side of living with a spouse or being in a relationship with someone who deals with depression. So we're going to bring them on now. Hello, Mark and Wendy.
Hey,
Hi,
how y'all doing?
how are you?
Hey,
All right.
we just shared your beautiful picture. Let me put it up again. No sense in having it if you can't show it, hun. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you so
Now,
much.
was this taken for a special occasion?
It was. We took a photo shoot for our third anniversary. Shout out to TN Doherty. I can't even pronounce his last name.
Doherty.
Doherty, and
Okay.
his beautiful wife Kesia. So they actually helped us out with the photo shoot. And like I said, we had it for our third anniversary.
Okay, so you all have only been married 3 years.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. And Mark, you've been married before, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And what about you, Wendy?
I've been married before as well.
Okay, so just giving a little background to our audience, both of you have been previously married. Mark, what do you do for a living, if you don't mind sharing?
I work for research program, animal resources at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. We have studies in field of medicine, and we use animals that are safely being used for testing.
Oh, okay.
I do paperwork. I work in the billing department.
Okay, okay. And Wendy, you're a second-time author.
I am. I completed and self-published my second book. It was released on April 21st. And it's called I Died So I Could Live. And I also do a little work with, I'm an independent consultant with Paparazzi Accessories.
Okay.
Shout out to the Royal Posh Bling Bosses. So I do that on the side as well, you know, just so I could have something, you know, to do other than write.
Okay, good. Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty, why everyone is here tonight. Is talking about.
Before we do that, Linda, what was the first book about?
Now, the first book was actually, you know, made up characters that I actually thought about. I was actually on family medical leave because of depression. So I was home, you know, just kind of doing nothing, twiddling my thumbs, and I just started writing, you know, made up story, you know, just to write, just to pass away the time. And
it was also therapeutic for you, right?
It surely was. It surely was. And I had my daughter to read the first chapter of the book. And after she finished reading, she was like, well, Mom, where's the rest of it? I'm like, well, you know, it was just something that I was going to do. So I really didn't set out to write a book, but it ended up being that way. So I was able to complete it. I think it took 2 years, about 2 years, and self-published it and everything and got it on the market. So the first book was called, or is called, Inside of Me. And that book dealt with depression as well. More so my fictional character, Judine Montgomery. She basically had a candid conversation with her son. And it was at that time that she found out that she did suffer from depression. Now, on the real, a lot of people don't even know they are depressed. They just think that they're something's wrong with them, and you know they're sad all the time, but they don't have a specific diagnosis as being depressed. And you know that's what happened to me. You know, as I got older, I wasn't formally diagnosed with depression until I was 28 years old. But I know for sure that I was depressed well before 28. I know for sure. I just didn't have a diagnosis for it. So, you know, it's important that people talk about it now. You know, you couldn't talk about it back then. You know, the old folks used to say, you know, go pray about it, go play outside, go drink some water, you know, do something, you know, go to the altar, you know, but, you know, back then we could not talk about depression or being sad all the time. It was taboo, you know, there was nothing that you could do about it. I was 28 years old when I was officially depressed, officially diagnosed as being clinically depressed. And it was because of my father passed away on the 27th of October. My daughter was born on the 28th of October. So I had a death and a new life back to back, and the same year, within hours. And so that was very traumatizing for me. It was bittersweet, as you can imagine. And so it took my employer, the HR department, to tell me that, Wendy, you need to take some time off and deal with this, because that was a lot. And, that was a very traumatic event for me, having, to take care of a baby and then not being able to say goodbye to my father because I was in the hospital. And so, the funeral was going on. I was still in the hospital. So that was a very traumatic experience for me. And again, she insisted that I take some time off and deal with it.
So if your supervisor had not stepped in, you probably would have gone on being undiagnosed.
Oh, I would have gone on. I would have gone on. That, that's in our nature, to go on.
So when does Mark come in the picture? Let's fast forward. When does Mark come in the picture? Where did you all meet? Mark, you answer this. Where did you meet your bride?
We actually met on Facebook.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Look, my family had me join Facebook mainly so we could keep up, because I'm not one that does a whole lot of calling and stuff. I prefer to talk face to face. So they set me up on Facebook, and I learned, actually it was years after I joined Facebook, about Facebook groups. And so I had been added to a group and didn't even know it. So somebody told me, hey, you need to come to the group and, make your presence felt or whatever. And so through that group, we met. And of course, that was just a friend. You were just somebody on Facebook, somebody that laughed at my jokes. And so my wife passed away in 2016. And she had, Wendy had a group called Living with Depression. And she, knew I was going through stuff. So she added me to the group. And we would talk through the group, and then eventually we started messaging each other because it felt good to talk to another adult. I have he's 16 now, but at the time my son was 12, almost 13. And so I didn't really have anyone to talk to because I'm not a sharer. My answer to everything is I'm going to be all right. So we started to talk back and forth through the group, and then we started to chat through Messenger. But like I said, it was just somebody on the other end of Facebook, somebody I could talk to that wasn't looking in my face to judge me, because as a man, we kind of talk, suck it up, you'll be all right. Don't show your weaknesses and all that. So it was good to talk to a person that I really didn't know, that wouldn't be judging me. Basically, she became my therapist. And so we actually had the opportunity to converse back and forth, talking about work, life, and children. And the main point we put across to each other was, I don't have time for dating. I'm not looking for a mate. I ain't got time for all that. I got to raise my kid. So we just friends.
And look at you now.
Yeah. The only thing I told her during our conversation, like, yeah, we're just friends. However, I'm not your girlfriend, so you can't call me, hey girl. No, we can't do that now. We friends. And so during the time that she took off, she said, hey, how about I come visit? Which worked out for me because I was invited to a birthday party, and I wasn't going to go because didn't want to go by myself. So she agreed to come to go to a birthday party with me for one of my coworkers. And so it was the first interaction I had face to face with someone that I didn't feel guilty. There was no thoughts that I was cheating on my late wife. It was just good, open, and honest conversation. And after that first visit, I said to myself, I think I want to see her again. And
love it.
It went from that. So when she got back to South Carolina, we talked, and I said, I think I want to see you again. I was nervous. she was like, "Yeah, well, we can arrange that. I think I want to see you too." That was the weekend of her birthday in 2017, March 14th, around that time, 13th through the 15th, 2017, and we've been together ever since. And so after
so
about
you
2
all
months,
met in a depression group.
yes,
Yes.
So you already knew she had depression.
Yes.
yes, yes.
And
That was
you
one
were
of the
in the
things we
group.
talked about.
Okay, you
Well,
were in the group, Mark, because someone invited you because you lost your wife.
Yeah, Wendy did. It was
Yeah.
her group. She
Wendy
invited me
invited
to
you.
her group. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a small depression group on Facebook. And it was just friends that, just kind of hung around in that particular group, for days that then they weren't feeling their best or whatever. And we would try to encourage one another, that type of thing. I didn't really know Mark at all. I just knew him by being in a mutual group. And so it just so happens that day I saw where in my news feed, they were sending condolences to him. And I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't know anything about him. So I honestly didn't even know he was married. That's how much I didn't know about him. But so I sent my condolences as well. And that was it. So a few months later, I saw in my news feed again, that he was having a hard time because of the fact that he lost his wife. He wasn't having a good day. And so I inboxed him and I said, I asked him, are you okay? And he was like, no, not really. I said, well, I can add you to my depression group. In there, you don't have to say anything. It's just a group where people can try and encourage each other who are going through depressive times. So he agreed to that. So
Let me ask you this. Mark, did you find the group to be supportive for what you were going through?
Yeah, it really did. There wasn't a whole lot of interaction. To be honest, it's just a lot of inspirational quotes and memes, so to speak. I have you pronounce it meme to get you through the day. So, I'm not one that's always want to read scripture every time for what I'm going through. So it wasn't that. It wasn't a Bible study group. Just, today is this day, and somewhat it be a little humorous, but it really helped. Just that was my I guess thought for the day most days. I would go in there and see that, and then a lot of times we would interact about this, that, and the other concerning whatever inspirational quote was posted for the day. So it really helped.
So would you advise others? Would you advise others who may be watching, who may be feeling depressed or going through something, to join a support group? Now, you didn't join one that was out in public. This was on Facebook, and there are plenty of groups on Facebook. Actually, the Other Woman magazine just started a mental illness Facebook page. So it was helpful to you.
I suggest it for anyone.
Okay.
Because my group was private.
Mark.
It was a private group.
Yes,
go ahead, Vernon.
Mark, did you have any hesitance about it? Because sometimes people get a little hesitant about joining groups that can help them with the fear of other people judging them, and people think that you're crazy or something like that.
Yeah.
Did you experience
actually
that?
I did because the first thing, I think she had put me in there, and it was 3 or 4 days before I would even like a post, because I don't share my grief. Matter of fact, that post she saw that day, most of my grief was because my son wasn't doing well that day. When something broken, I can't fix it. It bothers me. So when I joined the group, I didn't want to say anything, because a lot of times when you say mental illness, people think crazy. They think he's crazy, and you don't want to be labeled as that. And I didn't want to go in there and get to talking and opening up, and these folks like, something wrong with that guy. So I didn't say anything. I was very hesitant. Matter of fact, I was very hesitant until I saw another gentleman start to post, and I'm like, okay, I got a brother in here too, so I can say something every now and then. But yeah, I was very hesitant to tell anybody because, to be honest with you, I said I wasn't depressed. I was just going through a tough time.
Were you
I was in
depressed?
denial. Yeah, I was, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I took my son to counseling, and they suggested that I do counseling as well. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll be all right. So the counselor, while someone was dealing with my son, she said, well, come here and let me get some background on your son.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay.
Leading him in.
Yeah. She tricked me, bro. The counselor tricked me because in about 20 minutes, I was snot bubble crying up in there. And I was like, what just happened? What just happened? I found myself actually leaning back on the couch, like I was like you see on TV. And it kind of shocked me because, like I said, I don't open up. I try to be the one to uplift. I don't need nobody to uplift me, is what I thought. But it was very enlightening. But yeah, I felt tricked.
So what is it for the ladies watching, Mark, who may be married to someone who they may think, okay, something's not right, or in a relationship with someone, something's not right. He appears to be kind of sad. He doesn't want to do anything. What is it? Is it ego? What is it that makes a man not want to say, I need help? Because depression is something serious.
It really
Listen,
is. It really
I
is.
didn't believe in depression. I'm gonna be flat out honest. I didn't believe in depression because a lot of times when people said they were depressed, it was associated with being disappointed about something. Like, I'm depressed. Well, depressed, what's wrong? Man, I wanted to go here and I couldn't go. That's not depression, that's disappointment. So I honestly didn't believe in depression until my father started going through things, and he was diagnosed as clinically depressed in 2012. And so it's hard. I can't speak for other races, but for Black men, we're not supposed to show weakness. So if you with your spouse, for the ladies, you have to tread lightly, but you kind of have to push. You have to show them, hey, you're not doing what you normally do. What's wrong?
That's
You're not
good.
saying what you normally say. What's wrong? So you kind of push gently, and I had a lot of people pushing me to seek counseling, but it's hard. We show sign of weakness. A lot of us, we've allowed society to label us as soft, or we have female tendencies, which really gets into your psyche. So you don't want to share. You don't want to let nobody know you're going through anything. Because I used to tell folks all the time, even on my worst day, I'm good.
And let me share something else with you. After Mark and I got married, I recommended that he still go to counseling because, death of a spouse is something very hard. I can only imagine. I never had a death of a spouse, but that was pretty traumatic for him, especially after being married for 15, 16 years. That's and you can't forget about something like that.
And that was Mark's journey. That was Mark's journey, because what's traumatic to him, something else may be traumatic. It could be divorce. It could be a child being sick. It could be a lifelong illness.
Right.
And I think that's the key thing, is for us to remember that we all deal with something.
Right.
We all have mental health, an issue on some level. Mental health is health. And I think that's what we don't think. But Mark, you mentioned the word twice. You said weakness, men and weakness. That doesn't go. So there's an article in this current issue of the Other Woman magazine written by one of our new contributing writers, is Men and Mental Illness. And the subtitle is, It's Not a Weakness, It's an Illness. So that's huge for men to know that you have to get help. But I'm glad you said that we need to push you all. So I'm going to ask a personal question here for both of you all. Have you accepted medication, or are you doing the natural dealing with the thing? How are you dealing with it?
Well, with me, I was on medication because I had gotten to the point where my depression was, fairly bad. My look even changed. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't get out of bed, crying all the time. Now this is before marriage. And so, I had to do something in order to keep myself going for my kids. Since then, since I've been here, I was still on medication, but it was giving me such bad side effects, and so, I talked to my physician about it. They in turn wanted me to try something else. So they weaned me off of the old one to get me on a new one. And once they weaned me off of the old one, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to try this again because when you think about consuming stuff, you don't know what's really going on in your body. I chose not to take anything else. Now, as far as my anxiety is concerned, that I need help with because sometimes my mind will go a million miles an hour. I can't sleep. Insomnia is really bad sometimes. Driving or being in a social gathering where there's a lot of people, I get real anxious, very antsy. So I will have to take something for that. But as far as the medication is concerned, you use your own discretion. You talk with your physician about it. There was one particular medication. I don't really want to call the name just in case, there are any legal things going on. But I was on that medication for 6 years. And when I finally decided, hey, I'm tired of taking this medication, I don't want to do this anymore. I literally went cold turkey. And I missed about 45 days of my life because I don't remember anything. I can honestly say I know what it felt like to have withdrawals from, drugs, because that's what it was. It was a withdrawal from that particular medication. And I just lost days of my life because I can't remember. It's I'm thankful for the job that I had and the coworker that I had. She was able to help me, get through those days, because some days I just could not function.
What about you, Mark?
Wendy,
I've done counseling, but haven't had to have medication. Once I accepted what I was going through and learned how to deal with it, then I give myself time to reflect. Just a lot of quiet time, sometimes some music, and like I say, and see a counselor. But I've never had to take medication for it.
Okay, Bernie, you had a question?
Wendy,
Yes.
I do. At what point did you really come to the realization of it? I know for many people, that is when people is in denial, for the most part, about their issues. And at what point, what significant emotional event in your life that caused you to come to the realization that, listen, I need its help? Was that something very specific, or it just gradually came to you that you needed to seek some help?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because that's in my second book.
Mhm.
In my second book, and it's called I Died So I Could Live. I literally felt like I died a couple of chapters in my life, but I had to I had to die just in order to be able to live the life that I'm living now. Not to give away too much in the book, but I went through some traumatic experiences in my life regarding my upbringing, regarding sexual assault, regarding miscarriage. And I dealt with all of that by myself. I didn't have anybody I could talk to about it. And so every time a situation happened to me, a piece of me died. Bad marriage, I just died. And I felt like if I didn't change, I was going to. And to be very transparent with you, there were a couple of times when I thought about it. But I knew as I got older and I had my children, I knew that I could not just leave them like that. So they actually kept me alive a little bit. I'm sorry, getting a little emotional now, but they saved my life when I thought about ending it. But I kept going.
Mhm.
I kept going because I had to. And so, I just kept on living. And, it's funny how God lays the foundation. Again, Mark and I didn't know each other. But when we did begin to talk, about, I guess, maybe a year after, his wife passed, and we started to really, really talk, we already laid the foundation as being good friends. So he knew what I was going through. I knew what he was going through. And so there's no surprise now in the marriage about those times when I'm feeling sad. He understands. He might not understand, but he knows what's going on with me for the most part. A lot of times I try not to talk about it with him because Mark is the type of man that he wants to fix me. He wants to help me. His job as a husband. He wants to be able to protect his wife. But sometimes there are things that he just cannot help. And that's one of them. And I tried to explain to him, you can't help me with this, baby. I mean, it's just something that goes on in my head. It just, and I just have to, just work my way through it. Because and I need people to understand that people cannot fix you when it comes to depression. You can't be fixed. You have medication that can help. You have doctors, therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists that can help. But to actually fix, no, that's in my opinion highly impossible.
With that being said, Mark, go ahead with your comment. You're probably going to say what I want to ask.
Yeah, for those listening, true enough, you can't fix it. And if you're with someone that deals with depression, you can't fix it, but you don't ignore it. You have to hover. I know when she's having a bad day. I know she don't want to talk about it, but I'm still going to ask her, is she okay? And if she wants to talk about it, because in the back of my mind, if I don't say anything, then it shows an indifference that I don't really care what she's going through. And she'll tell me it's the same thing as yesterday. Okay, well, let me hear it again today. What's wrong? It's the same thing as yesterday. Okay, well, I got a bad memory, so tell me again verbatim. You hover. You don't just leave them out there by themselves. They need their space, and they have to deal with it their way. But for you to
say that again, Mark. Say that again.
Yeah, you have to give them the space. They have to deal with it their way, but you don't just ignore them. Even if she come in here, she'll come in the bedroom. I know she's having a bad day, and I'm in the living room. Every 15 or 20 minutes, I'm coming to open this door.
He won't let me be sad in
I'm gonna
peace.
either hug. No, I'm gonna hug and kiss her, and I'm gonna ask her, "You all right?" And she's gonna say, "Yeah." And I like, "Well, I know you're lying, but okay." And I go back and do my thing. And that's what you have to do. You have to be supportive, and it's hard because she's hurting, and I can't help her heal. And depression not like a leaky faucet. There's nothing I can do to stop the leak, but I'm not going to ignore the leak. And that's what you have to do. You can't ignore them simply because they're having a bad time.
Just listening to you talk, my heart hurts. That's your bride. She's hurting.
Don't make
and
me
you
stop
can't
crying.
do a thing about it. So what you're saying sounds easy, but what about your pain, Mark, where you cannot help her? What do you go through?
It's rough. I don't allow my energy to match hers when she's down, even though it's hurting. I can't do that. Actually, my defense mechanism is humor. Through any bad situation, I find the funny in it. And so that's how I deal. I'm like, I know she's bad, feeling bad. I'll even change my music. If I'm sitting in there and she's feeling bad and I'm listening to jazz, I switch it up to hip hop. I'm going to keep my
And
energy
I'm like,
up.
what are you listening to?
Yeah, because I listen to pretty much anything. Hip hop, sometimes metal, anything to bring my energy up. And she's looking at me like, and I know sometimes she wonders, like, what did I get myself into? So, but I can't allow my energy to match hers because that's not going to be helpful for her. I empathize with her and I sympathize for the situation she goes through that I've never experienced. But
how long does it take? How long does it take, Mark or Wendy, when you feel something coming on? I'm sure you notice it, Mark. How many days go by before she is just willing to talk and be more interactive? What's the longest period that it's been?
Since we've been together, she was in the phone for about 2 weeks.
Oh my.
And so I dealt with it. The worst part of that is that it's a blessing in disguise that because of the pandemic, I've been working from home for the last year.
Yeah.
But she would go through times where she was the only one at the house. Son's off at school, I'm at work, and I know she's having a bad day. I call her, text her every 20 minutes. I was still working in case my boss watching, but I called and text her every few minutes, every hour or so. Be like, "You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay." But I've seen a good 2 weeks ago. Hey, I still need to work. One of my coworkers, I was working, but I was texting.
Oh, bro, get it in.
Multitasking. That's what I was doing. But she had about a 2-week period is the longest, and normally I worry her to death.
You keep laughing, you're gonna tell on yourself.
And so I do all I can, like I said, but for about 2 weeks when I come home, she's sitting, well, she don't like a lot of noise. I don't like a lot of silence. So she's sitting in the house, there's no music, no TV on, and she's just kind of sitting there. Nope, let's watch TV. Let's do this. Let's do something. I know it's not going to fix it, but if you move around enough and them endorphins kick in, maybe it'll help. But most of the time, 1 or 2 days, there's some memories that she deal with that triggers things. I wasn't even aware this past year, the anniversary of her father's passing. We were just at the house and she was quiet and I didn't ask why. I knew it was one of them days, but every 15 or 20 minutes, I'm hugging and kissing on her. And then I go back to work. I went back to work and just to check on her, just to help her energy. You you can't be a spouse and not be a helpmate. That's your job. That's what you sign up for. So I got to do all I can to help, and she does all she can to help me. And sometimes it's just being in each other's presence.
I got a question for you.
I got a question, if you will.
Okay.
Okay. My question is, I know that for you guys, I think you're real lucky, at least that you knew what to expect. Okay.
Right.
At least when you got together, you knew that you got some issues. But in many relationships, that sometimes they don't want the other partner to know until they get together, and then it kind of hit them like a brick. They don't know. What advice would you give couples or a person that experiencing those kinds of issues that you guys experienced separately, but they was afraid to share with their potential partner in fear of being judged or in fear of losing them and so forth, and they didn't find out until after the fact. What advice could you give that couple to enhance it,
Well,
to help them out? I think.
well, and I'm sorry.
Transparency. You have to have transparency. Now, the problem is a lot of us want transparency while speaking behind clouded glass. You got to have full transparency. This is me. This is me. I think back to the days where women didn't want the boyfriend or whatever to see him without makeup on. You know, that type of thing. While I'm always covering something, I'm always hiding something. You know, you have to be transparent. You have to open up. Now, you don't have to pour out your life history to somebody, but you have to let them know what made you you, why you are who you are. You know, and if they can deal with it, they can, and if they can't, then you probably shouldn't be together anyway.
Right. Exactly. If there's going to be a relationship there, everything needs to be out in the open. And I feel as if your partner or significant other does not know what's going on with you, and you tell them, you know, everything that there is to know about you and what's going on with your mental health, if they don't stick around, that's not the person for you. That is not the person for you, because if someone loves you, if someone loves you to the core and they tell you this over and over again, well, I love you, this is going to be through sickness and health, till death do you part. I mean, you can't say you love somebody and then the minute that they're sick or, you know, something's going on with them, you leave. That's not love. So, you know, I'm glad that we were able to form this foundation. You know, he knew everything about me before, because I wasn't planning to marry this man. You know, he was 2 states away.
Where are you all at now? Away. What state do you all live in now?
Alabama.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm originally from South Carolina.
Okay.
So, you know, we weren't planning this. I mean, this is 2 states away. No. So it was safe for me at that time to tell him what was going on with me, because we had no idea, you know, we were going to get involved. We had no idea we were going to get married for that matter. But, you know, you have to be transparent with your significant other and let them know what's going on. And they have to be able to understand, you know, what it is that they're going through. Because that's just, it's a hard subject to actually even talk about. It's a hard thing to deal with, but you have to deal with it.
Speaking of
And
dealing with it, let me ask, this is a question from a viewer. This is for you, Mark. As a man, what impact do you think depression would have had on you if you didn't have a supportive partner?
It'd have been a destructive path. To be honest with you, my child is the only reason why I hadn't already gone down that path. It's tough. Um, you're suddenly a single parent. You lose your spouse unexpectedly, and you're trying to deny everything that's wrong with you because you have to show strength for your children. Um, but without her, like I said before, she became my partner. It was bad. It was bad. I had to put on a brave face a lot when I didn't feel like it. I had to keep the energy up with my child because he's always wanting to go. He was preteen, a teenager. I want to go. What we gonna do? And all I wanted to do was come home from work, make sure he ate, and get into bed. And I knew that wasn't me. However, I still wasn't like I'm depressed. I'm just going through something. But you have to have a supportive partner. I know I would have held it in the road because I got a child, but I probably would have been swerving over the lines a whole lot. It would have been tough without somebody to push me to seek help or to just talk. Just talk.
Okay, Mark, if you will, if you have even a piece of mask on, I want you to take it off now, okay?
Okay.
For some of the men who may be watching or who will watch it later, share what one of your lowest days were. Can you remember your lowest day?
Yeah. Everything was already kind of falling apart. And I tried to go to Facebook for humor, and my memories came up. And it was we didn't know it at the time. It was our last family vacation. We went to Destin for Thanksgiving, and we took pictures out on the beach. Me and my son and my late wife, and I sat in here that day watching those videos, and I couldn't even turn it off. I knew I didn't need to watch it because it was killing me, but I had to look at all the pictures, and I questioned God again. What I've learned, people say you don't question God. Well, I disagree with that. I feel like you can question God. You can ask God anything you want. You just have to be prepared to accept this answer.
Hmm.
And I told him he was wrong. I said, you were wrong. I said, my son needs his mother because I don't feel like I'm a nurturer. I don't know what to do. I'm lost. I don't know what to do without her because he was mama's baby. He came to me to talk about sports and food. That's it. Nothing else in life. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I can't just pat him on the head and say it's gonna be all right. I don't know what to do. And I sat on the edge of my bed and I cried for a while. Silently because he was in the other room and I didn't want him to hear me. But I cried a while and I was hurt and I was angry. Yeah, that was a real bad day. I didn't even share that with Wendy. I you know, and so I learned to stay out of Facebook memories for a long time. But that was a very bad day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to come out and put on my face
Do
and tell him, hey, let's go get something to eat. It's hard. As a man, it's hard. But then my counselor I told her, I said, he doesn't seem to show any emotion about his mom passing. And the counselor said, how does a child learn to speak?
Mm. Through his
He learned to
parent.
speak from hearing you. How does he learn to walk? He watches you. He emulates you. Have you cried in front of him? I'm like, no, I'm not going to cry in front of him. He don't need that. So why would you expect him to cry in front of you? I was like,
Yes,
wow.
boys get sad too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie, you had a question?
I did. How much extra stress does it bring into the relationship? And if it does, how do you manage it and how do you deal with it?
Um, I don't feel like it brings any extra stress into a relationship because no marriage is perfect. You work on it every day. You know, you work on it every day. You have to continue to do the things to keep them that you did to get them. So it's no extra stress for me because
Mm.
I'm pretty much the same way all day, every day. Um, I've never felt any stress. I'm gonna have to deal with this or deal with that. Um, I just know that, I say you hit your pants up and keep it moving. Um,
Mhm.
it's more hurt when she's hurting and I can't fix it. But as far as stress, no.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you're definitely special, Mark. You're different. And you know what? Most men don't even recognize when their spouse is on her period, going through PMS, or just a little moody. And so you have all of that. So we can look at our small issues, the little trifling stuff that we get upset about in a relationship, and look at you all and what you're dealing with. There's just a bigger picture. And you all are the picture of love. I always say we don't know what love is, but love endures.
It does.
Love
It does.
endures.
If you notice the little things, they never become big things.
Say that again.
I said, if you notice the little things, it never becomes big things.
Now say it for the people in the back.
let me sit up for this one.
If you notice the little things, they never become big things. You pay attention to, a lot of times in relationships, you think it has to be something extravagant. If we go out to dinner and she orders a salad, if she forgets, I tell them she doesn't want onions or croutons in her salad because that's not what she eats. If you pay attention to the little things, they never become big things.
That's a great way to, I don't want to say close, but that's a good closing remark. And I want you, Wendy, to take a couple of minutes and share your book. Now, you mentioned your first book. When you told me about the characters in your book, yes.
Before she closed, I want to know, and we got time to plug the book. Did that writing helps you deal with your issues? I know you wrote 2 books now. Does that kind of a way of venting?
It really was. And I also in 2018, before my first book actually published, I actually started a blog on WordPress. And it was a way to talk about how I was feeling for the day. Some days were good, I would write that. Some days were bad, I would write that. And I wasn't the only one. I mean, I had viewers that actually would like my posts from China, um, Ethiopia, Tanzania, India, Russia. There are all kinds of viewers on that particular platform, WordPress. But it was good to know that I was not the only one that suffered from what I was suffering. You got people all over the world that feels, have their depressive moment, and they have that platform for that. And so it was good to be able to just vent, to talk about things that I felt like talking about at the time. And some of them would comment, some of them would just like, and but for me, it was like a stress reliever. Again, like Mark was saying, there were days when our son was at school and he was at work and it was just me at the house. And, I'm like, let me just type something, how I was feeling for the day. So that was a great stress
I think I
reliever
brought
for
that
me.
up. Yeah, I brought that up for a reason. That is one way I think people can deal with their issue. Just write them down.
Right.
And that's one way of getting it out, getting it off your chest.
Of course.
And you don't have
Of course.
these pent up frustrations and stresses. And so I think that's a good thing. Even if they don't write a book, just write their diary,
Write a journal.
Write down their feelings in order to deal with their issues. Okay, I'm gonna let you plug it.
Yeah, journaling is very therapeutic. It's huge. So going back to your first book, when I heard about your first book, Wendy, I couldn't understand. It's like, woman, why don't you write your life, write about the depression. What is going on with you? But you know what? What I notice is a lot of people hide behind the reality of their life, and they want to use characters, and they want to use those characters to share their story instead of coming out with it. So I applaud you for finally writing your story, because I told you before we started, Wendy, that you all could be the face. I don't want to say the face of depression, mental health, whatever, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing because I don't know a couple out there who is doing what you all do. So the books that you have, doing the Facebook Lives, like I say, maximize on this, but quickly plug your book for us.
My book, I Died So I Could Live. What I had to endure to receive the crown of life God prepared for me. Wow. There were quite a few things in the book that I talked about. It's basically just like a memoir of some things that really hit me deep. There were actually some things in there that I had to actually just stop for a while because it was like a trigger. And that trigger would set me back 10, 20 years, And so it was very stressful. My intent was not to write an autobiography about myself. My intent was to write a sequel to the first book. But God kept pulling me to the side and said, hey, you need to do this. God, I don't want to, but I did it. I was obedient.
You did it.
I was obedient and I did it. And of course, I was afraid of the backlash from the book, the judgmental people that would think, why would you write about that? Why would you write about your family and stuff like that? But, the family is the reason why I'm like this. And so, and, just being honest, about it.
Where can we get the book?
The book, you can go to Amazon.com. You can go to any bookstore outlet out there. My book is there. Again, it is called I Died So I Could Live. And I literally died just so I could live the life that I'm living now. And I am so thankful for it.
Well, we are thankful for you all. And I'm going to share your book cover one more time and say again, Wendy, where they can get the book is wherever online books are sold.
Correct.
Or they can contact you.
They can contact me. My email address is, I have several email addresses, as a matter of fact. But WordPress, you can go to www.authorwendyshipman.com. My email address, you can, inside of me, thebook.com.
Or the easy way, Facebook, how you all met.
Facebook
Send Wendy
Messenger.
an inbox message.
Exactly. That's probably the best way. That's probably the
Yes.
best way.
Yes.
But thank you
And-
so much for having us. I appreciate it.
Thank you all. Thank you all. And until next time, you all take care. Continue to be a groom and a bride. Keep
Of
the love
course.
alive.
Of course.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Like, really.
Well, Vernon, we didn't get to go over that was a good session. I got to share their picture one more time. They're just a beautiful couple.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So real quick, we are past our time, but I'm going to take 30 seconds, and I just want to put up these signs of depression in women. And if you're viewing, you can see that, and just look over some of the signs: sleeping abnormalities, having low energy, moving more slowly or more quickly. And it says depression affects not only the mind, but also the whole body. And this one here shows some symptoms of depression. And these can be found on the Other Woman new Facebook page. It's mental health awareness with the Other Woman magazine. So much needed topic. And thank you for those who tuned in. Maddie, I see you. Belinda, thank you everyone for your continual support. So closing remarks, Mr. Vernon, on your anniversary.
I don't have any, but that was a good show, and I think this is a very important subject matter to deal with, Lavender. And I know they don't sometimes take seriousness in me and you together, but we want to bring different perspective to relationships. I'm talking about, we got a very serious side of relationships, and then we have a lighter side, and we talk about the lighter side sometime on the Wind Down Wednesday.
Yeah.
But on the very serious side, let's talk. There's real talk. When we're talking about real talk relationship, and that's what we want to bring both sides to the equation. So now I hope folks can benefit from this and learn from this.
Yeah.
That's it. You think I had a serious
Oh, I
side,
knew
did
you had a serious side. You just, for some reason, you like just playing the fool sometimes. I don't know what that is. Your alter ego. Your alter ego. I like the serious side.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we need to get out of here.
Yes, we do. Okay, so thank you all for joining us, and just check us out on Facebook and YouTube to find out when our next show is, and it'll probably be Wind Down Wednesday, right, Vernon?
That's right.
Okay,
Wind
all
Down
right.
Wednesday. We're back.
Thank you, guys.
All right.